Hey, thanks for joining me today, guys. Today I'm doing the Ferengi Marauder. Now, this is the small model from the Adversary set, the old Adversary set that had the bird of prey and warbird with it also. And I thought I'd give a shot at trying to light this small model. Now, I'll go ahead and give you a glimpse of the model, and I'll talk about and show you pictures of the build. Now, here we have our lights. I have the room light turned down so you can see the lights a little bit better. And pretty happy with the way it turned out. Getting those windows really small so it look and scale was a little challenging, but I think I managed to get through. It has some flaws and things I'd do differently, but I just want to talk about how I got it to where it is there. So I'm pretty happy with it. Like I said, overall, I think it turned out pretty good. For such a small model, anyway, it was a bit challenging. So anyway, I started off, I had to open up the different sections I wanted to light, and I just used a kind of very small drill bit to cut away these sections in here. I had to cut away the bottom underneath for lighting. They give you clear parts for the sides right here and also underneath, if you can see the lighting on that. Anyway, I had to open those up. Those were all closed in. The clear parts just kind of set over. These sections here, I guess the impulse engines had to be cut away. And so I had to open those up. And like I said, I just used a small drill bit to cut away a section of holes. Then I took my hobby knife and trimmed away to clean up the excess. And then I used file and sanding sticks to smoothen out the rest of the opening. And from there, I painted the ship in two parts, the two halves. There's not a whole lot of parts. I assembled it and painted it. I started off by doing a couple of coats of black for light blocking purposes, and that was on the outside. I did not paint the inside of the ship. The ship was molded in white, obviously, but I did a few coats of black, and then once I had that on, I added in a base coat. My base coat actually went through a few different colors. First coat was more brownish and it just didn't look right. This is called terracotta from Anita's acrylic. I think it was closer to what I see on screen anyway. So I did that, and as you can see there's some shading in there, and what I did with the terracotta is I added in a little black to my airbrush while it still was loaded with the acrylic paint, and I just mixed water to thin this down to just a very kind of milky consistency, and to spray paint it, and I usually have no problems with that. It went on pretty well. I added some black and did some shading in there to give it some color variation on the ship. And so from there, like I said, I had it in two parts. I went ahead and installed the clear parts on there once I had painted up the main body. Now on these top section, these sides right here, I actually broke the clear piece. Excuse me. Broke the clear piece that went to the sides here, and I couldn't quite get it fixed right, so I used some clear acetate, which is a thin kind of plastic sheet. I filled it in with some canopy glue, and I think it turned out pretty decent. I also had to use that clear acetate for the impulse engine since there were no clear parts there. I did use the clear parts for the bottom there. Those were intact. And from there, I prepared my LED strips, and I just used some ultra bright LEDs. I prepared two sections. I had a row of three that I used up in the front part of the ship, and then I had a row of six that went across the main body, and that's where all the lighting. I wired those up. I installed my brass tubing, my support rod. I ran the wiring down in there, and as you can see, it's just a 9-volt battery, some very basic lights, and a on-off switch in the back here. So I got all that together, and then it was time to start working on the windows. At first I was using a very small drill bit to drill all the way through, and I found that wasn't quite necessary. All you really have to do is remove the paint. Because the ship is molded in white, it actually works good just to drill deep enough down to where you drill through the paint and a little bit into the body. And because it's white on the inside, the windows come out white. So that actually, it wasn't planned, but as I started doing it, I found that actually worked better than drilling all the way through and creating a hole that kind of can cause those hot spots of light. Doing it that way actually gave you a way to diffuse the light, as you can see. Now I would do on the back, I was doing all this freehand and some of my lines are a little bit crooked. I think if I were to redo it, I'd probably make some kind of guide, like some tape, because this is a circular motion. It doesn't really go straight across, so some of my lines kind of look awkward because I was just going straight across. I think the front turned out pretty good. You really don't have that big of an issue. It's just more going straight across. And I think the big thing was just keeping them small enough to kind of keep them in scale and getting enough on there. When you see like the on the show, there's a lot of windows on the ship. There's a lot of decks. It's apparently a pretty wide body there. But I think it came out pretty good, especially at this small size. It's only about 3 inches long. And I finished up with some clear matte coats on it, and that was about it. And it's really didn't take that long to build, and pretty pleased. I haven't seen one of these lit before. I probably could have got a little bit more lighting. This side is not as bright as I want it, but overall, really happy with it. So anyway, guys, hope you've enjoyed the video. Until next time, everybody have a good one.